Okay, so another live stream test. Awesome. Um, but yeah, wanted to talk about my impressions and thoughts of the Hyper E-Ride mountain bike that I had for quite a bit, and it's pretty awesome. There's a few things that are interesting about it that I don't like. A lot of people do like. Um, One of the biggest things is it's got a threadless system to it versus a thread quill, which I'm still determining if I should switch that out because it uses the same kind of format as a quill stem, which is 1/8 of an inch thickness tube. So it should be very easy to just switch out the fork for a thread fork. But I don't know how high the end of the fork will stick out, how big the threads are going to be, and all that jazz. And even if the new fork would even come with the attachment pieces, I don't know. And what kind of fork I would need to get that would be equivalent to the fork that I want to get to upgrade. Because there is a threadless fork that I'm actually looking at, but it's like almost $250. It's a solo. Basically, simple air chamber right that you can fill up, that fills up both sides, I guess, and just has a standard trade valve that you stick a pump in, fill it up, probably like 10 psi or something like that, and then it's good to go. And there you go. And that's going to have, I think, 100 millimeters of travel, so pretty decent amount of suspension there. And it comes with V-brake attachments built into it, plus disc brake. So I'll have both compatibilities there, but it's a threadless stem. So it's got a huge threadless piece there. That you got cut off and all that jazz. And that's not too hard. I mean, I would do that easy. That's the upgrade I would go for. But I want to try and go for the quill stem because I already have a stem piece that has an adjustment rod. And I know everybody's going to be like flipping out going, oh, well, you can buy one for a threadless stem. Yeah. Here's the biggest issue. I don't really trust those. Why? Because how adjustable stem actually works for the quill stem system is it actually has a locking nut on the bottom. So if you're putting all of your weight on the front of the handlebars, like what you do with mountain biking, the stem won't, even if the stem is loose, it won't come down. But for threadless stems with the same attachment ability and all that stuff, it doesn't have that locking pin. So if the sides are loose, it's just going to go, and basically you're going to slam your face into the tire. So, yeah. And I know I can go with a standard stem for threadless. And there's a lot of different, like closer stems or stems that go up and all that stuff and like that. It's like, well, maybe I want the flexibility to have it to adjust like that, but not have to have a crappy adjustment with a threadless system. Or I can go another route, which is actually kind of modifying the entire system, which is not something I think I really want to do. But I could convert a threadless to a quill stem system. And how I would do that is actually rather easy, because since it's a 1/8 inch tube system, there is a extension adapter that you can get that basically puts onto the fork, and then that screws in just like your handlebars. But instead of actually screwing on your handlebars for your standard threadless stem, you would just use that piece that now sticks up as a point for mounting your quill stem system into it. Because all the quill stem system does is basically use the rod to go through, and then there's a wedge inside that pushes on the outer wall, the inner wall of the inside tube piece, and allows it to lock into position. The problem I have with that, though, is that threadless stems, especially the adapter, will be thinner walled systems, basically making it pretty weak compared to a standard quill stem system that actually has thicker gauge uh, walled inner tube pieces. That's why they're able to actually use that wedge and actually have it more hard, tough into it, and not move, compared to a threadless system that actually basically just clamps on the outside wall and clamps down onto the outside wall, versus quill stems that clamp inside wall system. So they really don't need that thicker wall system to actually clamp down that hard, compared to quill stems that actually need that so they can clamp down harder. But it also gives better durability for the quill stems. That's why when you see higher end mountain bikes that have quill stem designs that actually don't require those bigger dual shock fork systems compared to a quill stem that can handle that type of beatdown for mountain biking. Like if you go for the high price ones that you have to like seriously downhill beat down, a quill stem really doesn't need that kind of design. But not like I'm going to be doing that. I'm just saying that the quill stems have a lot more strength to them than threadless. And also, it's more easier for the threadless systems. The quill stems actually be on the tire, because the only thing that actually holds the threadless system in position for the entire fork is your actual handlebars. Because that little cap that has the stud nut just basically holds it in place for your handlebars before you actually tighten the screws for the handlebars, and that basically holds the entire handlebars to the fork itself. That little top with the stud nut basically screws down is never, ever going to hold your fork from flying off if your handlebars get loose. But a thread system, quill stem, your handlebars go up, your fork still stays. So you're not literally having your fork drop off if your handlebars come off. Compared to a threadless system, if your handlebars go off the fork rod, basically there goes your entire fork. It's just going to go. So it's just going to break into two pieces and go. So, yeah, that's the biggest upgrade that's interesting, because I have the adapter that I want to use, but the upgrade forks are threadless system. They're exactly the forks I want, but it would be nice if they were the same kind of fork system that had not only disc and V-brake options, both in the entire fork, but also be for threaded quill stem design instead of just the threadless. So I'll have to look into that. But if I can find something basically similar to that, similar in price, but for threaded forks, and actually will work for my bike, then I'll probably go with that, because that will be the easiest option. Another thing that gets me interested is how the bearings will go for if I switch to a threadless system. I mean, a thread system. I don't think there will be much of an issue, because both the thread and the threadless is basically having the same amount of kind of distance from both of the bearing areas and width. So I don't think I really would need to switch out the bearing caps or anything like that, besides the top cap, which would just be basic for the thread system. Actually, I don't know how the threadless system works on the top bearing. I'll have to take a peek at that later on. But yeah. And the other upgrade that I'm doing is actually a thing I just mentioned in one of my videos previously. I'm making a fake disc brake system. Basically, I'm going to have a disc brake in the back, but it's not going to be used for my levers. It's actually just going to be used for a parking brake. I know everybody's probably going, "What the freak? Why are you doing that?" I mean, disc brakes are better than V brakes. Why do you have to go V brakes? But yeah, I like V brakes better. Disc brakes are a little more annoying to bother with, but it'll be funny to have a fake disc brake sitting there. It'll blow people's mind. I'm pretty sure I'm already blowing half people's minds on YouTube already. Like, woo! I already switched out my seat posts for my Yukon Trail. I put slime in the tires, and I put a rear kickstand, a bolt-on kickstand, onto the rear tire. So now I have two kickstands for better durability on leaving the bike on dirt paths or stuff like that. And then my biggest upgrade is going to be the Bafang mid-drive motor system. I'll probably be getting that in June or something like that. Hopefully looking around like maybe 150 to 200 bucks for the motor, upgrade kits, and probably like maybe 100 bucks if I can find a battery for like 100 bucks. It's not too big. Don't really need it super big. Just a small water bottle canister for the mid-drive system. And have it like that. And since I'm not going to be switching out the rear tire anytime soon, until I actually figure out, until I get a front hub motor, I'm going to see how well combining the mid-drive to the hub motor and see how well that works on hill climbing and whatnot. If it works better than just the hub motor itself, that's going to be nice. Because the hub motor right now is just in tandem to pedal assist. But if I have the mid-drive have a actual throttle, I won't really need to use the mid-drive until necessary. And I only have the battery comes stock with a 6-speed freewheel system, so doesn't really have that much flexibility for very fast torque to fast speed. It has just a mid-range. So having that mid-drive system to help the hub motor system with hill climbing would be a lot better than having to switch the entire tire for a bigger gear system on the top or low end gear. The other problem, though, is that shifting ability and chain breakage, that is going to be something I don't want to happen with the entire bike. Especially after I switch out the rear tire for just the the mid-drive. Well, I'm not going to have that switched out until I get a front hub drive. So that wouldn't really matter, but still the entire breakage of the chain comes in town, and that's not very nice. But yeah, I'm not sure if I should go with BBSHD or just the standard BBS01, which would be, I think, the 36 volts, 250 or 500 motor system. Because I'm not looking for something that's like 1,000 watts and 48 volts or some jazz like that. Just looking for something that's the basic of power-wise. 36 volts, 250 or 500 motor is more than adequate for my power ability. Especially if I'm tuning that with two motor systems. But that's still going to have a lot of play on the chain system. So I want to be able to counteract that and hopefully have the chain work without breaking and shifting ability. So I'm wondering if those older versions actually come with shifting sensing technology. If it doesn't, then that's going to be interesting. The other upgrade that I really need to do is swipe out that stupid derailleur that comes stock, which is a crappy 20 derailleur. I want to switch that out for D-Roll, whatever it's called, derailleur. I have one of the old school shifter brakes from that kind of company, that kind of system. The newer ones now don't have the brake and shifting system built into the entire brakes lever, but the derailleur itself would be nice, especially if it can have a much more tighter clearance of bountage. Like when you go over bumps, the derailleur is not going to literally go compared to the stock one that basically goes every little bounce you go. I actually had a chain slippage when I was riding my bike. I even switched gears. I was on the lowest chain, the biggest gear, lowest gear basically, the biggest tooth piece, and it's only a single speed in the front, so it's a 1x6, and it slipped off. And I was just using barely pedal to pedal the motor itself, and the chain just. I didn't even really notice that the chain popped off until I stopped and I looked down and the chain was off my pedals, and I was like, really? So that's something else I have to look into, is finding a way to also get a chain guide system, so that way if I do get the mid-drive, that the chain will just sporadically just pop off itself But that's going to be very interesting to find out because my bike, the Hyper E-Ride, has a square, basically square piece where the bottom bracket is. So it can't fit a front derailleur system like normal bikes do because their tube system is just basically a circle. Mine's a square. So mine can't fit standard size derailleur systems like that. And I really don't want to bolt on something to the frame. I don't want to drill into it so I can bolt on a little guide system there. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to find out how that would work. But my entire plan for the mid-drive and new hub motor system or such forth is actually going to be rather easy because the mid-drive comes with all the power and stuff, the speed control and whatnot in its hub or in the mid-drive itself. So there's no controller panel needed or anything like that. So that's going to be easy to mount. And then I just need to connect a battery to it and boom. And since my bike, I'm going to upgrade the C-post clamp to a C-post and frame clamp system. It's basically going to allow heavier weight and also be more rigid from moving left and right from the standard C-post. So I'll be able to put a pretty decent sized battery pack in there. It's about, I think, 11 to 13 inches in size comparison. Yeah. So 36 volts power system, and around at least 4 to 6 Ah would be more than equivalency. What I'm going to go for that. And then the front hub motor system, all I have to do is basically just use the same connection for the rear hub to the front. Boom. Just let everything else run from the built-in battery from the frame and the built-in controller to run to that motor. As long as it's 36 volt system, it'll run the front hub motor just exactly the same as it does for the standard back hub motor. And then after that, I can upgrade the rear wheel to a standard hub, put a 7-speed freewheel hub system to it, and just like that. And I know everybody's probably screaming like, "Why a freewheel?" You know, there's a new system called a cassette that can house like 10 speed, and you can have like a huge amount of teeth on the end piece that has like way better torque performance and all that jazz. Yeah, but no. Freewheels are a lot more easier to maintain and easy to switch off compared to a cassette. Maintain a cassette is actually really difficult, and if a cassette breaks, you have to basically rebuild the entire cassette because the entire form of cassette runs built into the hub itself, while a freewheel actually works of its own mechanic away from the hub. So the freewheel just actually threads onto the hub, and there you go. You have two different systems. But a cassette's actually built into the hub. And even though it allows more speed, if that cassette arm, the teeth sprocket piece, actually gets damaged, you have to basically rebuild the entire cassette piece. And that's quite annoying. So I don't want to have to work on that. So if a freewheel breaks or has any problems or whatnot, I can just boom, it works. And then, yeah. And then I just need to have the hub built for the spokes with the same spoke gauge as the front, or original rear tire ability, and get a rim of the same class as what came with the bike, and boom, put the same standard tire ability and all that jazz, and there we go. Now the rear will be just a standard hub with a freewheel system to it. And then the fronts will just be the front with a front hub motor system. So I'll have pretty much a decent balance between weight distribution, power, and entire weight itself. So the bike will still weigh within around 50 pounds that it's comes stock, but I'll just have the hub motor from the back to the front, the battery pack for that in the middle, and the battery pack for the mid-drive in the back. So that will keep the balance from all the weight pretty much centered of the entire bike. Because I'm not going to have a battery pack in the front, it's actually in the mid-drive center piece, and then for the rear, the mid-drive system will be in the rack. Boom. And then I'll have cargo in the back somewhat. And yeah. And then I would just need to have, again, the fork and the stem piece and the handlebars all aluminified. And basically, the entire bike will be full aluminum, besides the probably besides the crank arms from the Bofang mid-drive system, because those come standard with it, which I'm pretty sure are steel, and the derailleur system plus the chain. But I could probably find a hub for the freewheel area to be aluminum, so that'll be pretty nice. And the cargo rack will be aluminum, and I'll probably find myself to get a aluminum seat post, and there we go. So it'll stay roughly within 50 pounds from the stock ability, but have greater performance, dual systems, and crazy amount of power performance, and still a mountain bike form. And if I can get the quill stem and thread fork system working, that'll be awesome. But the bike itself, yeah, it's amazing. Not too much of a fan on the threadless fork, but other than that, everything else is pretty awesome. The V-brakes, I like those because they're easier to tune, to mess with, and the rubber pads are easier to switch out. I don't have to deal with a huge amount of squeaking compared to disc brakes that squeak like crazy, and having to tune those and keep them adjusted and worry about this and that from the brakes. Yeah. But I'll still have the flexibility if I want to. Probably put either one on, but I probably won't, because the rear tire already has the rear frame already has the mounting ability to mount a disc brake coupler system to it. But the new hub won't come with a V-brake attachment. Though if it does come with a thread side on the other end, hey, maybe I'll just buy it and flip that on there. Just have it for one gag still. But yeah, the front, I don't think I'll bother doing any kind of V-brake system to it. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the bike itself is cool. It's way fast, a bit more punch power than my Yukon Trail does, and it's pretty nice. I've actually been riding it left and right, and the speed and the amount of power it has is actually pretty decent. And having a lot more lower weight to it than the Yukon Trail, it's actually really nice. 30 pounds is a lot to unload, and yeah, if I don't put a rack system or a front hub, just the mid-drive, and just basically wire the internal battery straight to the mid-drive system, the mid-drive motor, versus using the speed control built into the frame, then I would just have the mid-drive system like that. That would probably not have as much weight as the standard uh, rear hub does, which is probably like 10 to 15 pounds. So that would take that much off, plus putting a aluminum fork and aluminum stem and handlebars, plus crank arms, if I could do that. I would probably get the bike down to about 30 pounds or less, because the major of the majority of the weight that also puts a bike down is the fork itself. Most forks are made with steel fork arms. So if I can get aluminum fork arms or fork piece and have a decent shock system, that'll be nice. And that would definitely take at least half of the poundage off of what a steel fork would have. So that would probably take off about 5 pounds. And then the stem, the handlebars probably take off about maybe 2 to 3 pounds. And then if I didn't have the rack on and I removed the hub motor for a lighter weight mid-drive, yeah. And the frame for the Hyper is already aluminum, so it's pretty lightweight. But anyways, so see you guys later. Comment what you think and what I should try and go with. If I should, I know everybody's probably gonna go saying that I should stick with threadless and all that jazz. I might, but if I can switch it off for a thread stem, I'm gonna do that, because it's much more simpler design, much more strength to it, and just easier to mess with. But yeah, tell me what you guys think about the entire mid-drive, rear hub, performance, and all that other jazz. And yeah, peace.